I am not sorry for something I didn't do, and I am not sorry for the things I did do.
It was the 18th of March, 2018, at exactly 11:43 p.m. The night the world witnessed something almost beyond words. A crime so disturbing, it left people searching for a way to describe it. Ronnie O'Neal III is a convicted felon, a man whose actions left many in shock. He murdered the mother of his 2 children, killed his own daughter, and attempted to take the life of his young son. A father is meant to protect his family, to stand between them and danger. But what happens when the danger is the father himself? This is the story of Ronnie O'Neal, a case that shocked the world and still leaves many struggling to understand how it all went so wrong. Ronnie O'Neal was born on the 27th of July, 1988, and raised in Florida in the United States. He was American and of African American descent, but his early life was far from stable. He grew up in a difficult environment, one shaped by absence and hardship. He did not meet his biological father until adulthood. Instead, he was raised by his stepfather, Billy Smith. He also had a brother, Alonzo Kelly. At just 5 years old, his life took a traumatic turn. Some of his own relatives sexually abused him. The trauma was never properly addressed, never healed. And over time, it began to shape the person he would become. He grew into a troubled young boy, carrying pain that remained buried beneath the surface. Despite the turmoil, there were glimpses of normalcy. He grew up in a religious household, attending church regularly. He even became a choir member. He loved music. He wrote songs, performed, and was part of a hip-hop duo. At some point later in life, he converted to Islam. Ronnie attended a local elementary school before moving on to East Bay High School in Gibsonton, Florida. While in high school, he played football. After graduating, he joined the Reserve Officer Training Corps, a program designed to prepare young adults for military leadership. He later attempted to join the United States Marine Corps, but he failed the entrance exam multiple times. As he grew older, Ronnie took on different jobs. He worked in a gaming house and at one point became a truck driver. In 2010, he joined a community organization known as Build Your Community. The group focused on helping disadvantaged neighborhoods, mentoring young people, and promoting peace. They trained youth in boxing, taught hygiene, and worked to create a better environment. From the outside, it appeared he was trying to build something positive. Before we go deeper into the story, subscribe to the channel and turn on notification bell so you won't miss out on our next video. But on the 18th of March, 2018, everything fell apart. That night, Ronnie O'Neal and his partner, Kenyatta Barron, reportedly had an argument. What began as a disagreement quickly escalated into something far more dangerous. Inside their home in Riverview, Florida, violence erupted. Gunshots, screams, chaos. And within minutes, an entire family would be torn apart. But what exactly happened inside that house? What led to the horrifying 911 calls and the scene police would soon discover? The line goes silent, but the fear lingers. At exactly 11:43 p.m., a 911 call comes in. On the other end, a woman is screaming. Her voice is filled with terror, panic, desperation. In the background, chaos unfolds. A man's voice can be heard shouting, words that send chills down the spine. Then suddenly, the caller cries out, "I'm so sorry, Ronnie." Moments later, the call ends. 8 minutes pass. Then, Another call comes in. This time, it's a man. His voice is frantic, disjointed, almost impossible to follow. He claims he is under attack, saying that demons are after him. He accuses a woman of trying to kill him, and then says something even more disturbing, that she had just killed a child. He gives an address, and within minutes, officers are on their way. When police arrive at the home in Riverview, Florida, they are met with a scene of devastation. Inside the house, they find Kenyatta Barron. She is unresponsive, lying on the floor. Nearby, her 9-year-old daughter, Ron O'Neal, has been brutally killed. The injuries are severe, unimaginable. In another part of the home, they find a young boy, 7-year-old Ronnie O'Neal IV. He is still alive, but barely. He has been stabbed, and his body shows signs of burns. The house itself had been set on fire. Despite his injuries, the boy survives, and later he would become the voice that revealed what happened inside that home. Investigators begin to piece everything together. The evidence points to one person, Ronnie O'Neal. He had shot Kenyatta Barron, leaving her with multiple gunshot wounds. But it didn't end there. She also suffered severe blunt force injuries to her head, injuries that would ultimately cause her death. Their daughter, Ron O'Neal, was killed with extreme violence, a life taken in the most tragic way, and their young son left fighting to survive. The case quickly gains attention, not just because of the brutality, but because of what would happen next. In June 2021, the trial begins, and in a move that shocks many, Ronnie O'Neal chooses to represent himself in court. He stands before the jury, not just as the accused, but as his own lawyer. He questions witnesses, challenges evidence, and then he cross-examines his own son. The courtroom falls into a heavy silence. A child facing the man accused of nearly killing him. And then the moment comes. The question is asked, and the boy responds, "You stabbed me." The words hang in the air. Simple, but devastating. Medical experts take the stand, detailing the injuries suffered by the victims. Autopsy reports are presented. Kenyatta Barron had gunshot wounds to her body, but it was the repeated blows to her head that caused fatal brain hemorrhaging. The evidence is overwhelming. After days of testimony, the jury reaches a verdict: guilty on 2 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of attempted first-degree murder, multiple counts of aggravated child abuse, arson, and resisting a law enforcement officer. Before Judge Michelle Cisco's sentencing, there was emotional testimony by the victim's family. Kenyatta Barron's mother, Carrie Lloyd, said O'Neal stole angels from the family, including his daughter, Ron O'Neal, who had special needs and could not talk. Lloyd said she was disappointed with the jury's verdict and wanted O'Neal to face the death penalty. She also said O'Neal made a mockery of the justice system by representing himself in the double murder trial and yelling at the jury, as well as blaming Barron for the murders. Lloyd was in tears for most of her testimony. O'Neal, shackled and dressed in a red inmate jumpsuit, then stood to speak. He turned to the gallery, looking at Lloyd, and said he would not apologize for his actions.
I am not sorry for something I didn't do, and I am not sorry for the things I did do.
The judge admonished him for his tone, telling O'Neal she would have him removed from the courtroom if he yelled again. He then lowered his voice once more and continued, but I will say I'm sorry for your loss. Everybody wants to point fingers and play the blame game without knowing actual facts. Judge Sisko had O'Neal stand and face her as she handed down his sentence. 19 years I've been at this job. I've seen human beings killed at the hands of others in every way imaginable, she said. This is the worst case I've ever seen as far as the facts go. Sisko recalled the testimony of a firefighter who had carried 9-year-old Ron Nevaeh's body out of the home. When the person from the fire department testified and said he retrieved the body of Ron Nevaeh O'Neal from the home and all he could do was sob. It took every ounce I had not to start sobbing too, because there's no way any person with any feeling could have witnessed or seen the photos of what occurred that night and not be haunted for the rest of your life. The judge said, I know I will be. For the rest of my life, I will be haunted by what I saw as far as the evidence and just the abject cruelty of it all. Sisko focused much of her attention on the details surrounding Ron Nevaeh's death. Prosecutors said O'Neal used a hatchet to kill his daughter, who was unable to speak and was born with disabilities. She couldn't scream, she couldn't run away. She witnessed what you did to her mother, Sisko said, addressing O'Neal directly in the courtroom. She knew and the horror that child suffered, and she already had a life where she was born with challenges regarding her physical and her mental disabilities. But the pain and suffering that she suffered that night at your hands, unspeakable. The judge became visibly emotional as she described the moment of the little girl's death. At the moment, that first time you struck her with that hatchet, and little Ronnie testified all he could see was tears coming out of his sister's face at that moment. That child knew. She knew she was being betrayed in the cruelest, most tragic and sorrowful way that a child could ever be betrayed. She was being betrayed by her parent, the one person that should be there to protect their children and love them and keep them from harm, Sisko said, her voice tinged with anger. And that was the last thing that child felt before she passed on from this earth was your utter, cruel betrayal to her. She then handed down her sentence, issuing 3 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole for the 2 murder charges and the 1 attempted murder charge. She then sentenced O'Neal to 30 years for arson and 30 years for each of the 2 aggravated child abuse charges, for a total of 90 years on top of the life sentences. Before deciding whether to approve the recommended sentence set by the jury, the judge denied a motion filed on O'Neal's behalf, requesting a new trial. O'Neal claimed he was denied the ability to testify in court. The motion was drafted by the defense attorney assigned to O'Neal for the penalty phase of his trial. O'Neal represented himself in court during his trial, at times yelling at jurors as he crafted a defense strategy against disturbing evidence and witness testimony. An appointed public defender, helping in closing arguments, asked jurors to spare O'Neal and instead send him to prison for life. During the sentencing phase, a psychologist testified that O'Neal was diagnosed with PTSD and delusional disorder. O'Neal's mother, who wanted to protect her identity, also told the jury about a random drive-by shooting that nearly took O'Neal's life just months before the murders. At least one juror did decide against the death penalty. However, in Florida, jurors must be unanimous in their decision to recommend the death penalty. What do you think about this case? Drop it in the comments section.